Good day, everyone. Today I wanted to get into why acceptance and not control changes everything for you. And why I'm talking about this is because I feel like many of us come from a background or an upbringing where there were so many things in our life that were going on that were maybe wrong or not good for us, and we weren't able to control them. Like growing up as kids, like for myself, my parents had some substance abuse issues, and my dad was on a lot of medication, and I didn't get the emotional support that I needed from my parents, and a lot of my emotional needs in general were neglected, okay? Because of their lack of understanding and their own trauma, right? But then, and a lot of the times I would try, because of this uncomfortability at home, growing up, actually since I was younger, I had this tendency to over-organize all the time. And I think this comes from me trying to soothe myself by trying to control my environment. Because when things were organized and clean, then like I felt better, like because I was in control of that, right? And so my point is that we grow up and then we become these adults that try to control everything, even things that aren't in our control. And when things don't go our way, we end up getting flustered and upset, high blood pressure, always in that fight or flight state within our sympathetic nervous system, in our body, anxious in our head, okay? And this is not a fun experience. I dealt with it my entire life, trying to control my parents and their drinking and what they did and how they spent their money, because, but many of their decisions were not the right decisions and didn't benefit the whole family. And so I ended up always trying to control the situation. I was the older sibling as well. And anyway, so it served its purpose growing up, right? And I can't change that. But as an adult now, living my own life, and for you, living your own life, how does it feel when you are constantly controlled by, like, your emotions are controlled by your external environment, especially things that are out of your control, okay, and getting upset about things? It doesn't feel good. And so I've been on this journey of learning to accept what is, especially things that before used to pull at my heartstrings very tightly, okay? Like, for instance, my father right now, he not making good decisions at all. And I mean for a long time. And for whatever the reason, okay? These decisions would make me feel upset and scared, growing up especially. But now as an adult, I don't want to feel that fear and that upset and to be controlled by other people's actions and what they choose to do. And I need to look after my health. And this is true for everyone, okay? Because if we're constantly in a state of upset and our bodies, like, it's even been proven that if you're in a stress state all the time, creates inflammation in your body and disease and illness and weakens your immune system. So if your goal in life is, like mine, to find your inner peace and to live with more calm and acceptance, then this video is for you. And it starts with beginning to acknowledge when you get upset about things in your life that may not necessarily be in your control. And I'm not saying that getting upset in general or getting sad at things in life and that there's something wrong with that. Okay? Because emotions are a part of our human experience and they help guide our life and guide our decisions in life. But what I am saying is that when people in your life or things are happening outside of you that are not in your control, okay, like the decisions of, let's say, your parents or your children or your friends, somebody that you love, right? Or, things going on in society in general, like just things that are not in your control. These things do not deserve your continuous attention and focus, right? And your upset. So beginning to notice where in your life where you feel emotionally controlled. Like you're like, oh my God, is this gonna happen again? Oh my God, are they gonna do this? Is this gonna happen? Right? Where the situation or the person or whatever they're doing is controlling your emotions. And yeah, so acknowledging this. Like I'll just give an example, like I was speaking about earlier, like with my father, making decisions that are really bad, okay? I had to go through a whole process of my own feelings, why, the beliefs behind my feelings. And one of my beliefs was, for a long time, I'm sure I've mentioned before, is that I felt responsible for my parents for many years, especially after my mom passed about 2 years ago. My dad, my mom was the sole provider, as my dad didn't really do too much over the years. So especially after she died, I felt like, oh, I'm left with a baby that I need to look after, And if I did choose to continue to look after him for the rest of his life, even though he's making shitty decisions and not doing anything good for his life, then I would spend the rest of my life looking after him and not actually living my own life, okay? And so I've had to start to acknowledge my feelings of duty, okay? And reframe these beliefs. And my reframe has been, we all live our own lives individually but together, but we are all responsible for our own actions. And sometimes, all the time, you'll have somebody come up to you and say, oh, don't do this, or you shouldn't do that. And then you're just like, especially if you're a teenager or a young adult, you're like, oh, whatever. And you go and do it anyway. Well, that's because we usually don't like to listen to one another, especially when we're younger. And we need to experience something in order to learn things in life, okay? Whether we learn or not, but we need to experience it ourselves. So every time now that I hear something that my father is doing that that would normally in the past I would get upset, I would freak out at him and say, what are you doing? And get my body in that stressful state, which I did like most of my life, or my like teenage years growing up with my parents in mid-20s or early 20s. It's like always getting upset at what they're doing and creating my own stress in my body. Now it's like I look at my dad as this individual that like makes decisions, and I might have to watch him, tumble and fall, and to know that I need to be accepting of that and know that I'll be okay throughout that process of things happening. Because if I'm not okay, then my health isn't okay and my life isn't okay, and I've lost my focus. I've lost my focus from my journey, okay? So my point is that no matter what, when you are trying to control, you are grasping. It's like grasping energy. I've talked about it in my other videos, right? You're attaching, trying to control something. And when you're doing that energy, it doesn't feel good within you. You know that when you're trying to control your kid or your partner, or your friend. Oh, don't do this. Oh, why are you doing that? Oh my God, why are you doing this? Like, look at my body language. Like, what's going on inside my body? And if you're doing this every day and complaining and getting upset about situations and people in your life, you're only creating, that inflammation in your body and that lack of peace, even though you don't have control over that person or situation. So what is the point of in getting your body in that state and getting upset if we know that this is the reason for disease and illness? Okay? What we need to start doing is acknowledging the upset, like I said, where we get upset in our life. Okay? What is the belief behind that upset? And starting to make peace and have acceptance with the decisions and situations in our lives. And like, I think a part of it fully is being able to regulate our emotions and our reactions from things that are happening outside of us that are out of our control. Because most of us don't know how to regulate our emotions in general with our own stuff that we're able to control in our life. So regulating your emotions around people's decisions, number one. Number two, acknowledging that that person has the freedom, or that situation, whatever, is out of my control, and they have the freedom to decide to do whatever they want to do. And no matter what they do, okay, it's not going to affect my peace, because I accept whatever it is that people are going to do, as long as it's not affecting me, okay? As long as it's outside my bubble, it has nothing to do with me. And being with yourself in those moments, maybe if it's somebody that you love, like in my case, my father, I love him very much. But, being with yourself and, in those moments of, possible upset, but also accepting it and moving on with life. Because this is what creates your inner peace, is when you acknowledge that you are only in control of your own life, you're only in control of your emotions and your peace, okay? And so if somebody in your life is doing some things that may be questionable or upsetting or not good for them, and you're having a hard time dealing with it emotionally, I understand where you're coming from. And I understand how much it can disturb your inner peace and your heart. So I also know how challenging it is to accept things that are sad and upsetting for you. But it doesn't mean that you don't care when you're accepting things. It means that you're not allowing somebody's decisions or situation to affect your peace. You can still love and you can still care, but you're not going to allow it to disturb your health, to disturb your peace, and to disturb your focus and your life, because you're not in control of it. All right? Thanks for watching, guys. I hope to see you on my next video. Have a wonderful day, and remember to stay mindful.